Hi everyone, in this video I will be showing you how to use filter formula in Excel. This is a new formula which is only recently available in Excel 365. This is video number 4 out of my 4 series that I've recently created to illustrate various filtering options in Excel. If you don't have Excel 365, then I highly recommend that you watch my video number 1, 2, and 3 on this series. But if you do have Excel 365, please continue watching as the newly available formula in Excel, the filter formula, is really interesting, and I'm sure you will like it as much as I have loved it. Let's get started. The data that I'll be using is similar to the data that I have used in my previous 3 videos. So these are outlined down here with the blue heading. We are using product number, price, cost per unit, profit per unit, margin per unit, unit sold, sales margin, and product managers. In this video, I will be covering lots of examples. Example 1, 2, 3 are simple examples with one criteria only used in the filter. Example 4, 5, and 6 are more complex examples where we are combining multiple criteria in the filter formula. And lastly, example 7 is where I'll be showing you how to create a list of filtered columns instead of filtered rows. So let's get started with example number 1. Before we dive into the detailed example, let's start with covering the syntax of the filter formula. The syntax is equal filter, open bracket array, comma include, comma if empty. Note, the if empty is written in bracket, in square bracket, which means that this is an optional criteria. You can enter it, or you can also opt not to enter this. In English, what does the syntax mean? In English, it means that you type filter, open bracket, you highlight the table to be filtered, you put a comma, you put the filter criteria, and then you put a comma, and you put the text that you want to be displayed if nothing is found. All right, so let's get started, and I'll show you how to use this in practice. So let me just delete my previous filtered output. So in this instance, for example 1, I want to create a filtered list down here that shows a filtered list for a given product manager name. Now I have created a cell in here in yellow, and the idea is we enter PM1 or PM2 or PM3, and we want to show a list of items down here. So let's get started. To start, we say equal filter, open bracket, table to be filtered, which is this, and then you put comma, and the criteria. So our criteria is product manager, so I just highlight the columns, and then equal to PM3, and close the bracket and hit enter. Oops, something is wrong. Let's have a look together. What's wrong with this? Right, so we've got an error in here because I have not been consistent in the last data selection. So I have selected the criteria which is 1 too long. Now, so hit that and it should fix that. Right, so now that's my filtered list, which is really dynamic. If we change the table in here, the information in here, the information over there will change. So for example, so this item in here, I'm going to change this temporarily to PM 10, for example, and watch that my list on the right will shift. If I change all PM3 into PM10 and my list gets shorter as well. So this is a dynamic filtering which is not previously available with the previous example that I have shown you in video 1, 2, and 3. Right. So I'm switching it back to PM3. Now, if I change the yellow cell to PM1, the result, the filtered list, also changes dynamically. Yeah. So if I change it to PM2, that changes as well. Yeah. Now, if I say PM10, now I don't have any PM10 in here because I only have PM1, 2, 3, and 4. So what happened is now I have an error. Yeah. And I don't like seeing this error. So one option that we can do is enter the text to display if nothing is found. So we can amend our formula by adding comma and typing not found. Yeah. So now when we type, say, PM9, which is also not on the list, the output is not found. Yeah. And if we are back to PM1, got PM1 again. That's the first example. Now, let me show you a second example. So in this second example, we want to show a filtered list for price greater than X. Yeah. So we just need to type filter, open bracket, table to be filtered, highlighted, comma, the criteria, which is price, and then greater than 120, and then close bracket. Now, sometimes the column heading appear in here, and if you don't want that, it's very easy to remove it. Just make the font white, for example, and that's gone, and your table become neat again. Yeah. Now you can change that to, say, 100. And that changes as well. Yeah. Dynamically. Yeah. So really the syntax is that we use was greater than. Yeah. So obviously you can change it to less than if required. Yeah. So in fact, that's the example number 3, a filtered list for margin less than X%. So I've created an input cell, which is 50% in here. So let's just type the formula together. So equal filtered bracket, comma, we want margin, so that's the margin per unit, and less than 50%. And if it's not found, let's type not found. Well, I've got an error in here. That's because I have typed filtered with ed. It should just be filter. Okay, now that's fixed. And let's check that. Let's put in less than 70%. All right, so now you can see how easy it is to write the filter formula and how dynamic it can be. Yeah, so 60. Right, so now let's move on to example number 4, which involve more than one criteria. So in this example, we'll create a filtered list with margin between X and Y%. So what I have done is I've created 2 criteria input cells so that we can change these yellow cells, and then we can combine them using N criteria and N symbols. When we write them, we use the star sign. All right, so let's do this together from scratch so that you can see how easy it is to make the formula. So you type equal filter, open bracket, table to be filtered, which is this, and then you put comma, the filter criteria. So margin greater than 60%, and which is star, margin per unit less than 70%, and then close, and then comma, and not found. Now, one thing to remember is each criteria need to be enclosed with a bracket before it can be combined with the star sign. So I'm going to put brackets in these two criteria, and then I'm going to hit OK, and that's done. Yeah. So now we can change this. Say if I say 65%, so it should make my list a bit shorter. So that's done. So I'll show you another example. A filtered list with margin between X and Y, as well as product manager equal to PM3. So this is now 3 criteria. Yeah, so we can combine 3 criteria or 4 or 5 or as many as you want using the same method, i.e. with a star sign to symbolize N. Yeah, so I'm just going to delete this and let's write it together one more time. Equal filter, open bracket, table to be filtered, comma, margin per unit greater than 66, put them in bracket, and then combine them with another criteria. Remember, you have to put them in bracket, because if not, then you are going to get an error. So every time you get an error, just check your bracket. Product manager equal to PM3. Oops. And then if not found, not found. And we're done. Now let's do another example, which is a filtered list of items with price more than 120 or profit per unit more than 75. So with all criteria, we need to use plus, whereas N, we use star in the previous example. Right, so let's start by deleting this. So equal filter, table to be filtered, comma, price more than 120. That's the first criteria. Or, which is a plus sign, profit per unit, highlight the profit per unit, is greater than 75. And if not found, not found. Done. Yeah. So now, similar to previous example, sometimes the column heading just appear because of, less than or greater than. Just make it white font so that your table look neat. Yeah. And that's done. Now, last example. From our previous example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have always been filtering the rows. But what filter can do is not just filtering the rows, but also filtering the columns. So for instance, in here, with the same tables, we can use the filter formula to only give us 3 columns. Yeah. So for example, product number, price, and cost per unit. is the one that I'm interested in, I can enter that in here in the criteria, and this column will give us the product number, the prices, and the cost per unit. Yeah. So how do we do that? Let's start together. We're going to type filter. Again, the table to be filtered, comma, filter criteria. Now, because we are filtering the columns that we want to see, so what we need to do is highlight the first the first row or the header name. Yeah, and we're going to say we want to get the header equal to product number, which is in the criteria rows that we have specified in yellow. That's going to be the first criteria. Now, if we stop in here, then what we get is a column which is only product number. Yeah. Now, if we change that into price, for example, now that becomes price. If we change that into cost per unit, that becomes cost per unit. But this is giving us an error because there is a space in there. If you add the space, that's there. Yeah. So this is dynamic. Yeah, which is really cool. Yeah. But if I want more than one column, how do we do that? Yeah, we do that by appending the criteria by using n and n. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this first criteria in bracket, and we're going to add n. And n is n syntax is a star. So we're going to add more criteria, and the criteria is the header, which is equal to price. That's going to be our second criteria, and another star. The header equal to cost per unit. Yeah. So we're going to get 3 columns. Oops, what's wrong? Oh, okay. I think it should be a plus instead of a star. Oops. Now it's working. So it's not n, it's actually adding, which is why it's a plus. So now we have 3 columns. And if we want to have 4 columns, then we just need to plus 1 more in here. So for example, if we want 1 more, and that's for product manager, yeah, then really all we need to do is add another plus, and that should be that. And we're done. Now all of this thing is dynamic, so if we change our mind and said, I really want to see margin, sales and margin, that's all we need to do. We have a dynamic list, filtered list. I hope you enjoy this video. That's a lot to learn. I truly believe that this is a game changer, this filter formula. Since I learned about this formula recently, I've been really excited about it and has started using it in my day-to-day at work. Hope you get as much enjoyment out of this formula as me, and if you like it, please do share and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more Excel tips with you in the near future. Cheers, bye.